State of Florida versus Catherine Magbanua. DeCoste cross-examines Wendy Adelson and mentions when she dropped a bomb on Daniel Markel. He's referring to Daniel Markel's own words in his court documents when he states that when Wendy removed half the things from the house and emptied some of the bank accounts and took some jewelry and took the children and left divorce papers on the bed while Dan Markel was in New York, so that he came home to find that situation, it was his own personal Pearl Harbor. So why would she have done it like that? Because, speculatively, there was a narrative that they were looking for, that she was looking for. If Dan Markel had reacted to that in a big, angry way, which would have been understandable, then Wendy's stories about him being emotionally abusive, I don't tell many people this, may have had some credibility, but he did not react in that way. He wanted the relationship back. He wanted the children back. He pleaded with her to try again. And when she kept the children from him, he was going to take legal action, not physical action, not emotional abuse. He was going to fight for his rights legally. So any kind of plan that they may have, allegedly have, to run to South Florida and get an order of protection and say, look how bad he is, would have not worked. And all of the narrative that was out there where that led maybe Jane to believe that Wendy had been hurt by Dan, or Jeff to believe that Wendy had been treated badly by Dan, all of that narrative had no credibility because of Daniel Markel's own actions during his life. Now, the next thing I'd like to speak about is all the things that went wrong. And in my opinion, allegedly, that was the first thing that went wrong. That this man cared about his children, worked to save the marriage, and when that didn't work, fought for his rights. Legally in the legal system. He was hurt, but he didn't act on his hurt in a way to hurt anybody else. He went to court and fought for what was his rights. Then what happened next was that after the $1 million offer was rejected, and of course that was going to be rejected, he lost his life. Now, we see that when Wendy is speaking in her interview to Detective Isom, she mentions an alarm going off. And Jane mentions robberies in the area. And Wendy mentions that the alarm that went off on Trescott was also heard by her other friends, the ones that were watching her children. So there seems to have been a narrative of there was a break-in, and that led to a murder during the process of breaking into the house. But that didn't work because that's not what happened. No alarm was going off at that time, and it backfired because that neighbor went off and found Dan Markel, saw what happened to him, and saw the car that drove away. So that backfired. The next thing that happened was the case went all through the media and was covered immediately. And how were they going to contain this? And how were they going to quiet this down? Public relations, say how ridiculous it was, say how fancifully fictional it was, say that people should be sued threaten people legally for mentioning it, but it's not libel or scandal unless it's not true. And now we see that Charles Adelson was found guilty. So there was an Adelson involved in the case who's been convicted beyond a reasonable doubt. So those lawsuits and all of that didn't work either, nor did the narrative of writing creative writing about the case and letting that go out into the world. That didn't work either. So everything backfired. So to the degree that the family is separate from each other and there's not one narrative that they get together with, perhaps they won't pick ideas that are ridiculous anymore. Oh, wait a second. There was a story about a double extortion. Oh, wait, that backfired too. Oh, well, then again, maybe not. Celebrate uncertainty.